Good day everyone. I'm Michelle Jane Santisas, BSB HRDM 2E from NEMSO Cantilan Campus. And now, I will discuss the article I choose of obligation and contract, Article 1420 to Article 1422. We will start in Article 1420. Article 1420. In case of a divisible contract, if the illegal terms can be separated from the legal ones, the letter may be enforced. Before we dive into this article, let us keep in mind that divisibility between contracts and obligations differ from each other. Divisibility of the former talk about the contracts cause, while the divisibility of the letter refers to the prestation or object. For example, once upon a time, a sneakerhead went abroad and made a deal with Nike that he would pay them $1,000 monthly, and that the company would deliver to him first-hand limited edition shoes. In this case, their contract is indivisible because there is no way you can separate this one whole contract. However, the obligation of Nike is divisible because they can choose what time of the month they would send him the shoes, which kind of shoes, and whose shoes would be sent, Jordans or Kobe's. However, if it make the situation wherein they had a contract stipulating that sneakerhead would only pay every time a pair of shoes could be delivered to him, and would only pay the amount equivalent to that specific pair, then their contract is divisible and their obligation are likewise divisible. Diving in, Article 1420 applies only if a contract involves several stipulations, terms, or conditions and is therefore divisible. If some of the stipulations in the contract are illegal while the others are valid, the valid stipulations, if separable from the illegal ones, shall be effective and enforceable. There are two situations wherein the rule of divisibility or separability cannot be applied. First, it shall not be applied when the contract by its nature requires indivisibility. For instance, if a consideration is entire and single, the contract is indivisible. If part of such consideration is illegal, the whole contract shall be void and unenforceable. Second, the parties' intentions is for the contract to be entire or indivisible, then the rule of divisibility is subject to the contrary intention of the parties. Let us understand Article 1420 to unreal-life example. Zin sells to Sam 1 case of sparkling wine and 12 sticks of marijuana for consideration of 500 pesos. Now the question is the sale divisible or indivisible? The answer for that question is, it is indivisible because there is only one consideration, the 500 pesos for both 1 case of sparkling wine and 12 sticks of marijuana. Now the question, is the contract void or not? The answer for that question is, the entire contract is void because even though the purchase of 1 case of sparkling wine is legal, it cannot be separated from the 12 sticks of marijuana which are illegal. Accordingly, no part of this contract thereof may be enforced. However, if Sam has a change of heart and instead of paying for a consideration of 500 pesos for both items, he insisted on paying 300 pesos for 1 case of sparkling wine and 200 pesos for 12 sticks of marijuana. Now, the question for that is the sale divisible or indivisible? In this particular situation, the sale is now divisible because both items can be paid in separate amounts. The part that is legal is capable of separation from the which is illegal. Now, for that last question, is the contract void or not? The answer is, the legal terms of the contract may be enforced, while the illegal terms are void. Hence, only the sale of the case of sparkling wine is legal and may be enforced. And now, let's proceed in Article 1421. Article 1421. The defense of illegality of contract is not available to third persons whose interests are not directly affected. Persons entitled to raise defense of illegality and voidable contracts and unenforceable contracts. Third persons are not allowed to bring an action of illegality of the contract whose interests are not directly affected. Third persons are not allowed to bring an action to annul or assail avoidable and unenforceable contracts. However, if the contract is illegal or void, even a third person may avail of the defense of illegality or set up its illegality, as long as his interest is directly affected by the contract. For example, Simon, husband of Celine, bought the car of Celine as his compensation for the reason that he ditched their date. But the creditor of Celine, Marcos, a third person of the contract, was confused and asked his lawyer for guidance and clarification. Attorney Sarcon clarified that the contract is void because Simon and Celine are married and should not buy and sell each other properties, and that he can bring an action to annul the contract of Simon and Celine. His lawyer added that if Marcos, the third person, became creditor of either of the parties after the contract of Simon and Celine, he doesn't have the power to bring an action to annul the said contract. The purpose of the prohibition is to protect third person whose lying apart both properties of either's house enter into a contract with either have only to find out the property real ID account was transferred to the other's account. Under Article 1421 in the example, if the third person, Marcos, became creditors of Simon or Celine before the transaction, he can question the sale for the reason that her right or interest is directly affected. However, if Marcos, the third person, became a creditor after the transfer, the difference of illegality is not available to him. And last but not the least, the Article 1422. Article 1422. A contract which is the direct result of a previous illegal contract is also void and non-existent. These articles state that any contract arising from previous illegal contracts are to be considered void and null. Example number 1. Two people set out on a joint business venture which involves the marketing of illegal drugs. The contract made by the parties is considered illegal and would therefore be void and answerable for crime. Example number 2. Jane made up a contract to Ivy. Another example. Jane made up a contract to Ivy selling a parcel of land which the truth was an illegally acquired title of a land. Later on, Ivy sold the title to Alwilling. Shortly, Ivy learned that the title for the parcel of land both was illegally acquired. The question is, can Alwilling sue Ivy? The answer is no. Alwilling and Ivy can only sue Jane because she is the origin of the illegally acquired contract. If the contract is illegal from the previous, the new contract is still void. Example number 3. Ninja sells a Volkswagen mid-panel van to Pau. The two parties also signed a repurchase contract wherein Ninja has the right to buy back the car within 2 years. It turned out that the Volkswagen mid-panel was rightfully owned by Panda and not by Ninja. Under Article 1422, the contract of repurchase is dependent on the validity of the contract of sale. Since the contract of sale is void because Ninja, the seller, is not the owner, the subsequent contract of repurchase is also void because it presupposes a valid contract of sale between the same parties. One can repurchase only what he has previously sold.